Assalamualaikum and greetings to everyone. For our respected lecturers, the value, and our fellow classmates. Now I'm going to be presenting about ECO410 group project, which is our topic is housing equilibrium. Okay, now our group members is myself, Fikani, Siti Saidatul Aimin Sabila, Ainu Mardia, and Mira. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the definition of housing equilibrium, which is housing equilibrium is a state in real estate market where the supplies of housing match the demand for the housing at a certain price level. This occurs when the quantity of houses supplied by the seller match the quantity demand by potential buyer at a certain price. Okay, and so we have four main element that result in the housing equilibrium, which is firstly the supply and demand balance, which is at the equilibrium price, the quantity of a good or service that producer are willing to supply equal to the quantity that consumers are willing to buy. There is no excess supply, which is surplus, or excess demand, which is shortage at this price level. Next is the price stability. The equilibrium price tend to remain stable as long as the condition of supply and demand remain constant. If there is shift in either supply or demand, it will result in no equilibrium price. Okay, thirdly is the efficiency. Okay, the market equilibrium represents the efficient allocation of resource because it maximizes the total surplus, which is consumer surplus plus producer surplus. And at the equilibrium price, resources are allocated to most valued users. And lastly the last factor is no incentive to change, which is both buyer and seller are content with the equilibrium price because any deviation would result in a decrease in their individual welfare, and buyers wouldn't want to pay more and sellers wouldn't want to sell for less. We're going to move on to the next slide, which is the during housing equilibrium there is neither housing shortage or surplus, and the price is stable. That's the main thing about the housing equilibrium. Okay, but there is certain factors, certain disruption factors that's gonna start a problem or impacting in the housing equilibrium, which is the first is the population growth of the person living in the certain places. Next is shift in consumers' preference, which is some consumers would prefer landed or non-landed, and it changes at time, and the economic downturn in the current market. And so as the disruption factors, it will lead to some problems in the market, which the first impact is the market move away from equilibrium, and there will gonna be changes like the shortage or the surplus. Next is changes in quantity, supply and demand. As mentioned earlier, because the movement of the equilibrium. And the third impact is the change in price, which is the price is gonna change based on the market. Okay, so that's all. I'm gonna pass to the next person.
Okay, so now I will talk about an introduction about our housing market price. First of all, our housing sector has shown mixed results. Some regions seeing development and others might facing some difficulties. Next one, Malaysian housing market is shaped by numbers of factors, and we're going to talk about three of the main factors. The first one is economic factors, the overall economic of the country, including employment rates, inflation, and interest rates. Sorry. Next one is current trends, our own lifestyle. Lifestyle influence housing preferences. For example, someone in urban living, someone to buy an eco-friendly home or a smart home, and this can shape the demand for specific type of housing. The third one is a government regulation. These include housing subsidies and tax incentives. These two can affect both supply and demand as well as affordability for an individual. Next, we're going to talk about variations of housing costs that we have seen in current years are due to three main reasons also. The first one is urbanization, the process where people move from rural to urban can put pressure on housing markets, leading to increased demand and a higher price. Next one is changes in population. For example, young people with high-paying jobs can drive demand for rental apartments or condominiums. Third one is consumer demand. This include our preferences, lifestyle choices, and income levels. So understanding these dynamics is essential for policymakers, investors, developers, and consumers to navigate market effectively.
Next one is a problem statement. There is always a gap between demand and supply for affordable housing. This is why there is an imbalance in the housing market. There are several factors that cause this, which one of them is the developers focus more on luxury properties rather than affordable housing projects. To address this issue, an EP, or also known as economic policy model, can effectively apply to incentive private developers to participate in the affordable housing market.
For literature review, firstly we will look into the Malaysian real estate market analysis. The Malaysian real estate market, despite being impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, is expected to recover steadily with a forecasted growth in market size from USD 36.76 billion in 2024 to USD 50.69 billion by 2029 at a CAGR of 6.64%. Despite being the pandemic's effect on demand and house prices, the market is projected to register a CAGR of over 4.5% during the same period. However, the pandemic has led to a slowdown in house price growth, and when adjusted for inflation, house prices fell by 1.3% year-over-year in Q1 2021. In simple words, the forecast became inaccurate because of the effect of COVID-19 in the house pricing index. Next, we move on to the Malaysia real estate market trends. We can see the oversupply of housing is happening in the market trends. Oversupply of housing comes from the mismatch of housing needs that create the goldfish phenomenon. Developers do not consider and ignore the higher actual demand for low-cost housing compared to middle-cost demand. There is a higher pressure of demand for low-cost houses, but the supply comes in the form of middle-low-cost houses. To combat this overbuilding, stamp duty was increased from 3% to 4% on properties worth above Malaysia ringgit 1 million. This can encourage the development of underused or vacant properties, promoting better utilization of existing urban spaces and reducing the pressure to develop new areas excessively. Developers and investors may be less inclined to overbuild if they face higher transaction costs, making it less profitable to build and sell multiple properties quickly. Second way is government introduced an additional 5% in real property gains tax (RPGT) on sales of properties owned by 6 years and beyond. Now we move on into the recent development regarding Malaysia's property market. Malaysia's property market recorded more than 399,000 transactions worth close to RM200 billion in 2023. An increase of 2.5% in terms of the number of transactions and a growth of 9.9% in terms of value compared to 2022. Meanwhile, unsold or overhang residential properties declined to 26,000 units worth RM17.7 billion in 2023 compared to 28,000 units worth RM18.41 billion in 2022. Valuation and Property Management Department JPPH reported a positive growth trend compared to 2022 in property transactions due to an increase in transactions in all subsectors: residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, development, lands, and others. Lastly, we looked into previous study and found that some researchers, Lancaster and Rosen, proposed the hedonic price model based on the theoretical microeconomic framework in order to solve the affordable housing prices issues that burden the household. However, this model only stressed on the sphere of macroeconomic factors such as location and accessibility of neighborhoods. It cannot design the method on how to set the appropriate price for affordable housing to low and middle income group of households. Therefore, there is a need to study the equilibrium price for affordable housing in Malaysia presently, coinciding with the current policy and socio-economic condition.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, for my part, I will be explaining the methodology of this research. So first, what we need to know is that what kind of software they use to conduct this research. So they use the statistical package for social science, which is SPSS software, to obtain the EP model. Okay, so this research shows sequential relation between the objective. What I meant is that the first could be related to the second could be related to the third, and the third could be related to the fourth. But all need to be answered in order to obtain that EP model. So okay, so for the benchmark for housing data series, they put the how they find the objective first and second. They set the price range below 300,000 ringgit by the year from the year 1995 until 2050. So from that, they get the total demand, also total supply. So they put it inside the software using the SPSS software method. They will be compared. The total demand that they get will be compared before being regressed to obtain the regression value of demand and also supply. But before that, what I like to mention is that the kind of data collection method that they use is that by using the document analysis and also the survey method. So we can see that the document analysis is from objective first and second, and the survey method is for the objective third. Continuing from before, later the demand and also the supply curve will be developed to get the equivalent price for affordable housing market in Malaysia. Later, the data will be analyzed by using the regression method in SPSS to get the DD value. The raw data for the housing sales performance begins at 1995 until 2015, which we have set the housing price below 300,000, will be analyzed to get the alpha and also beta value. You can see from this slide, I show the equation form. For the quantity demand, we get the is alpha minus beta P. P represent the price, and also for the quantity supply equals to alpha plus beta P. Okay, so after we have got the alpha and beta value, we can substitute into the equation. Then the demand and supply value regressed by SPSS software will get the EP model application. You can see from this slide also. I show the graph. By graphically, the EP market price, how we can determine the EP market price is by the intersection between the demand and also the supply curve. But if by using the mathematical equation form, we can just derive it as QD equal to QS. Okay, so for the objective third is to find which factors contribute the most to the formation of EP model. So we use the survey method, which we set out a lot of questionnaire for two types of respondent, which is the first is from the SS side will be delivered to the private developer group, and for the DD side will be delivered to the household group. Each of these side will be getting a questionnaire, and after we collected data, we input it into the SPS software, got the regression value, and this value will use for support of EP model from the objective first and second. Okay, you can see from the slide, I show you the equation from the research. They had said that model DD is equal to A plus B1 plus B2 plus B3 plus B4 plus B5. So B1, B2, B3, B4, B5 is the factor, the X factors, and the A is represent the constant. This is from the regression method. So from the model of supply, it's equal to A plus B1 plus B2, B3 plus B4. That's all from me. Thank you. So, conclusion that we get from this research study from the article is that first, the housing equilibrium, it's housing equilibrium refers to matching house demand and supply upon price. So, because of the imbalanced demand and supply, because of the developer preference to develop more to the luxury properties rather than the affordable properties, so an EP model was built by using SPF to help improving the affordable housing market during this year. To get an appropriate equilibrium housing price, consumer, government, and also developers need to cooperate to ensure that the market works efficiently. So, by using the equation from that, this research shows we can get more the affordable housing. That's all from us. Thank you.